making a change to something which I first saw in like XCOM 1, the very first one, back in like 91 or something. And I've seen since in popular culture concept in almost every single work about aliens in fiction as it relates to Earth. And that is that the primary outline is to win or lose. Now, I do not see it as such, and I have protested to it being the policy of any exchange, and I have not found a proper tool to show what seems like a reasonable outline, so I have had to go with the policy. But I have now found a tool which is very, very good in terms of XCOM specifically. And XCOM, for anyone not initiated, is basically militarized SETI, meaning all the 100 million, 1,000 billion simulations we run every day about if the world turns into a zombie or if the world does this or the world does that, when you have people who do military things and they just daydream, that kind of stuff is the big core of XCOM. You might call it the SCP Foundation if you want to be more futuristic about it. It's basically centered around contain or die, win or die, one of those conditions. And we have finally found something which has, at least from my glance, I have done a little bit of work, but not much because it's far ahead in the tech tree, something resembling common logic, in that there are very specific technology applications, such as controlled alien immigration. In an XCOM-like game, where usually the plot line is, they invade and you kill them. And there are, as far as I've played this, several similar things which indicate that it's been designed around the concept of giving you an option of how to integrate the aliens. Like, do you want to set them on fire? Do you want to allow them to immigrate? Do you want to, like, turn their empire to ash? Whatever. There's like different options, like along the path of how to get this thing sorted. And while I would agree with this game's analysis of the situation based on the encounters you get along, like the beginning, that the closest human analog is a war, but I would very specifically consider it more along the lines of a environmental thing, because this one has a very good, because it's basically the storyline of Command and Conquer, which is the Tiberium thing. You could call it a Tiberium war, but it's an ecological disaster and not a war, because it affects all life on the planet, and you're not all life. It's not targeted at you if it's targeted at converting the ecosystem to something else. It's targeted at all life on your planet. Thus, it's an environmental thing. It's not really a defense thing. And with that in mind, this has very good controls after you learn them for things like controlling like the carbon of the atmosphere. Like, it's XCOM, where XCOM is just one of the many threats. You could go through the carbon thing and your planet could explode. You could go through nuclear war and your planet could explode, and so on. It's just one of the things that might go wrong. It's not the thing. And it offers a realistic control. If you kind of adjust the initial sliders, it's designed to be like a heavy strategy game that's run as a light, fast tactical simulator. So the settings are a little bit off for if you want to run like a good XCOM experience. I recommend going half the rate of technological growth, half the rate of like disaster growth, and 1/4 of the initial control capacity the game gives you. That much I've noticed. Everything else seems just fine. The disaster growth and technology growth both have caused the game to just be basically slower, and the uh, control point thing makes it so that even fairly late into the game, there's a lot of countries that are not running under any like factions control. And if you keep it at its original, every part of the planet will be populated in the first 5 minutes of the game. If you put it at 25 instead of 100, it takes a long time for the planet to be like completely saturated in terms of how many control points, specifically 25. That would be better. It makes it so that governments and countries and like individuals in general have a much better chance of doing things without any of these factions involved in them. So these factions remain not like the world government, but another facet of like life. You could say they're like they show up and like are the interest groups associated with the alien conflict, not like planetary government as it is in the initial settings. Also, as with my preferred rate of gameplay, the rate of technological gain and associated phenomena is a little bit too fast. I am accepting that they also reduce alien hostility if you reduce like speed or like threat level. I understand that they're making that correlation. I'm just going for the record. They might still have, in this particular case, a misalignment or a misassociation of thoughts or whatever you want to call it, like a stress point, if you will. There we go. You can notice that this is. I'm not gonna say anything. So here's what I basically have. I took the least wanted continent because everybody's going to be in Europe, as you can see by the density of icons there. Somebody always basically takes Russia. Usually, Russia solves the Ukraine war by peace, but it does, in this particular case, solve it by conquest because it's taken by one of the more like hostile factions. But you'll notice that Europe and North America, like factions. Like these are all basically controlled by one of the larger factions. You could see a few of them are still like mainly not colonized, but a lot of the larger choices are usually taken by one of the main factions. And I took well basically the least wanted and the largest as I wanted to make a steady foothold. What we are seeing is the nation going more peaceful, more democratic, GDP going up, the population becoming more, I think, going down in cohesion, which is associated with development and GDP growth. If I go with priority unity, which is to go towards the halfway point between unified and disunified, it might slow down these other indicators, but I'm not sure. I haven't tried it with this particular setup. Now, I'm trying to get these three countries that are like the primary countries in the region to develop in like in green in most of these indicators, but it's very hard work. Very hard work. We have at least managed to take them from civil wars to peaceful. I think I realized that unity works against knowledge. One takes individuated, one takes unified. So I assumed wrong about this because there's a lot of information about like what different things do, and I like to be frank didn't completely read all of them. So I think based on what I'm seeing here, because these tend to be going towards so individuated that it's starting to affect the peaceful nature of the country. So I don't know. I think I might actually go with a little bit more unity. We need to run this and see what happens. Slowing down development of education. But because it isn't slowing down GDP or GDP per capita, we're not going to see a reduction in economy or education. It's just going to take a little bit more to continue it going up again. That's what we do. I think Nigeria is now stable enough for the agent there to start doing uh, uh, GDP growth, which means I might actually be able to take. Yeah, just going to focus on the overtime flow, I think. There we go. Because I said that. Okay, that's my take is molta settimana. That's it. Io comunque adesso ho tutto forse perché So, if we change the X one, this is the interface. Let me play on camera at least until the next table info shows up. Right. There's also one other thing we need to do with the lower control capacity, which is this particular number up here. There is no reason to have at least little add rivals. I was looking at this in terms of what I'd need to do if the previous attempts, like things were still applicable, and they were so not. So from all guys from whatever. Oh no! Oh no! So what you supposed to do? All right, you run out of us. Really need that agent. This are already gone so well that I can't actually do anything with this. Lowering that really slightly, but we still have a pretty bad bad here. So I think I'm gonna go with priorities. Which of these countries is doing the worst? Oh, nice. So, no, let me begin. So of these, it's probably this one. This direct investment. Oh, right. I'm just kidding. So I'm thinking while a few human groups are particularly apt at mimicking certain hostile behaviors, I, I do not, after very, very careful analysis of the human spirit, believe that those attributes on this particular rock are primarily caused by humans. That continues to be my opinion. Nothing here, really, really nothing here. The only thing that doesn't literally cost me anything is stabilization. Everything else costs, so let's go with that one. little bit more power. Make at least a token of it. Let's go with this one. Probably completely controlled by France. So, okay, so this is good. Nobody needs to do nothing like in addition. It's just good. Like, I meant to show you. Let's go with tech tree. Uh, full tech tree. Here's arrival law. Space commerce. I have no idea if this is just like a arrival law into space or like whatever this is. But if I recall correctly, and watching like the whole tech tree, like watching the whole thing, I do have like a feeling, uh, like stuff like this. I don't even know. Just a hunch. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I just have a hunch. At some point, someone is going to someone is going to ask me. Uh, we have this proposal for attempting legalized alien immigration. I'm going to go look at the map and I'm going to look at one region that, in my opinion, would benefit from it most. And I'm not going to decide like initially. And it's going to be like a question: do you want to try? Like, say, the tourist trap. How would you react to like somebody in like a green? Fine, I assume you do have cosplayers, like that kind of question. I do believe we are not at that point yet, based on the events in this, but we might be. To be more precise, we might be in the presence of nations who have gone to that point and beyond. You know, nations and people, in these times you have to take that separation. Used to be more like when we refer to like us Americans have to see that. So we now have to say us Americans both left, right, up, down, and in the box by the door. Sometimes even outside of the box. Literally floating in the air as an anomalous blob. SCP-999. What is the hydrogen blob? Enemies are planing. They're playing fast. I really accustomed to think how. Okay, that's a bit much. Next round should fail. Then it asks me again. If it says no, then I will, commit it being reduced. I'm gonna go right down, but I do know the game is gonna crash the second the hard drive, so I'll just poked. The tiniest movement of the cable will make the entire game crash. So I'm thinking of using this as an interface very specifically for the XCOM thing instead of anything else. One moment. This doesn't really like show the all this to put it back. It's gonna cost me something. Let's do that. So, point being, I'm thinking very specifically of using that as a replacement for using XCOM as a framework for Alien. There we go. Just wanted to get this stuff in record.